Hi folks! Alright, we're going to take a little bit of a break from the Kenny Bell adventures today and install something else, but I will tell you why that is. I had a little bit of a whoopsie the other day. So those of you that have caught my catch can video, I know that I say that a lot in this series, but it's because things have chronologically unfolded as I work my way up to the top of the motor where I ultimately install the Kenny Bell supercharger. But if you caught that catch can video, you would have seen me talking about this little Venturi tube. I'm building my own cold air intake. I'm going to show you all this in a second, but I'm building it out of 4-inch aluminum pipe. And this little Venturi tube is also aluminum. I don't have an aluminum spool for my MIG welder, nor have I ever welded aluminum. So I don't really have any business doing that. But I did a little research online, right, which can be a dangerous place. And I found this method of welding. Essentially, it's almost like brazing or soldering. Okay, you buy these aluminum rods, you heat up the material you're going to run this aluminum rod into and kind of braze or weld it together, and bing, bang, boom, you've got like a welded joint. Well, it's not as easy as they make it look. And now, granted, I was doing it on two like different thickness materials and stuff, but get a load of this. I absolutely barbecued this poor Venturi tube. It ended up being a complete disaster. I did not ruin the 4-inch piece of piping that runs up and into my throttle body, thank goodness. But I'm waiting on another one of these in the mail. When that comes in, I can hook everything up and I can finally fire this car up. Now, I'll give you just a quick little tour of how things are looking here currently. So essentially everything's done except that cold air intake. Belt's on, everything's torqued to spec and ready to rock and roll. This little guy is going to live here on the high side of my MAF, right, for obvious reasons, because this is actually a bit of a suck from my catch can. So, and this hose actually attaches to the barbed end of that fitting. It's just kind of hanging out there, leaned up against my header. But yeah, I mean, rad's got coolant in it. We're essentially ready to fire this thing up. I could, I guess, fire it up right now, move that hose out of the way of the hot header and whatever else, but I think I just want to like have it done and then fire it up, right? And there's no real rush. I mean, when I film this video right now, it's almost Christmas 2024, so no real rush. Anyway, yeah, quite happy with how things are working. I have actually turned the key forward to accessory, tested my electric fans. They work as intended. So, because yeah, if you missed that video, I've got like a grounding switch to override these things over and above the temp switch that's in my coolant passage there. In the it's in this Y block right here, kind of buried under my plugs. But anyway, that is what turns these fans on, and then I've got an override switch under my dash 2. Did a video on that. Check it out if you're interested in how I did that. But anyway, today's video, this poor old car, my green coupe, has never had the differential bushings changed in it, right? From your upper control arms. And I got to finally do that. They are very, very tired. I noticed it when I put the tubular control arms on this thing a couple years ago, and it's taken me that long to get around to this. So today we're going to be installing new diff bushings, and we're going to be using Maxim Motorsport's removal tool because it's no fun to bust out the oxyacetylene torch and do it that way. So we're going to do it the new age way, the easy way. So anyway, stand by. I'm going to get the car up in the air and we'll get the old ones out of there. So if you're wondering what tired diff bushings look like, get a load of these poor old girls. OEM 1992. Cracked up and rotted out and awful. So these 1000% need to come out of here ASAP. Remove differential side upper control arm hardware and lift control arms up and out of the way. If you are using the Maxim Motorsports removal tool, place the big cup on the outside of the bushing housing and the smaller washer on the inside of the diff bushing housing. The smaller washer is the same diameter as the metal bushing housing and will fit through the diff housing if aligned correctly. Take your time and make sure everything stays aligned. Clean the bushing housing thoroughly. At this point in the install, everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. If you're just installing OEM replacement bushings, well then you can get after pressing yours in there. In my case, I'm installing these Prothane bushings. So I've got to press the metal and the sleeve out of here so I can get this new stuff in. I actually ended up burning the bushings out of the metal housings. I don't recommend this method, but it is a down and dirty way of getting the job done. It does make a mess, so be forewarned. Little black oxide treatment for the win. This is the one I haven't done. This is the one that's currently going black. Give you a quick look at the final product here before I go and press my sleeves in. But they're treated, got the black oxide on them. Bushings are pressed in, pretty much ready to go back in the car. All right, somewhat of a similar process on the way back in, except now we're using this great big flat washer. That is in the case that you're using this Maxim Motorsports tool. And then on the back side, we're using this smaller of the cup tools to cinch this bushing back into the diff housing and put it in place. Tighten until the bolt runs out of threads. At that point, you'll need to back the bolt out and stack the smaller washer included in the kit on the bolt head and on top of the larger washer. Continue tightening until the bolt runs out of threads again. At this point, the bushing is in the OEM location. Give you a quick look at the final installed product. You know, that Maxim Motorsports tool is really, really slick. The way it's set up, it gets those bushings set in the diff exactly where they need to be as per OEM spec. So that's super cool. On the back side here, I actually quite struggled here on the driver's side. So that this T right here that goes up and tees off on your brake lines was tight with that polyurethane outer bushing. It was really tricky to get in there, so I ended up having to pull this nut off of the stud here and lift up that T and kind of get in there and almost get a little rowdy with it with a hammer to get it in place. It's quite tight. This side, no problem, everything went in just by hand. But now, yeah, just drop your upper control arms back down and run your bolts through them. And well, I did this off camera, but I ended up pulling my shocks and giving myself a little bit more room to get up in there with the impact. So kind of got the body supported here on my great big jack stands and hung the diff a little bit. But overall, I think this will really tighten up the back end of this car. All right, folks. Well, listen, I know those of you that probably watch to the very end are the folks that follow along on a regular basis. Everyone else that's just here for the DIY info is probably already gone. So as I film this, it's almost Christmas 2024, and I just wanted to send a very Merry Christmas to each and every one of you and your families. And I hope this video finds you guys well. And I hope you're having fun following along on the Coupe Resto. So next up, I might have a little bit of fuel tank stuff to do. That's a maybe, but like quite literally the next is like gonna be firing this car up. So stay tuned, guys. Anyway, Merry Christmas and take care. Bye for now.